I grew up as in a family that did a lot of Bible study, and so I first encountered Christ through scriptures, and it was always just something that we talked about in our family, and so it was very comfortable to talk about Jesus and to pray to Jesus. So I think that I really kind of made a conversion experience to becoming a Christian around the age of 7 or 8, young enough that I don't really remember a defining moment. As I grew up as an evangelical Protestant, there were a couple of altar calls where I would rededicate my life to Jesus. And then as I moved towards Catholicism, I realized a new depth of understanding of being near, what it means to be near Christ. And what I really realized, what I love about Catholicism, is that he provided ways for me to be near him that I had never even understood before, that are even more concrete. So I remember many times growing up, one of the experiences to me that made me feel near Jesus would be through music, to be doing praise and worship. Many of the praise and worship songs I learned growing up had lyrics like, I just want to be quiet in your presence, I just want to be near you, be in your presence. It wasn't until I went with a friend to Eucharistic adoration at Providence College, and they were playing some of these songs during Eucharistic adoration. And Eucharistic adoration, you have the host displayed there so that you can just be there with Christ physically. He's there and you're there. And I had this epiphany. That is what these songs were written for being near Christ, worshiping him in the Blessed Sacrament. To have a concrete way of expressing your faith. Another big problem that I had growing up is, what do you do about sin? What happens when you sin? How do you ask for forgiveness and know that you've received it? And so I tried praying really hard in my bedroom, really trying to achieve some kind of contrition. I remember doing things at high school retreats where you'd take your sins and you'd write them on a piece of paper and then throw them into a fire as a way of symbolizing that you've gotten the guilt of these sins off of your chest. Having something like confession, where there is an act that you're required to do, that in itself requires faith. If you don't believe that you can get your sins forgiven, why are you even going to show up? To go there, to take the uncomfortable step of going and confessing your sins to somebody in this safe, private environment with the seal of the confessional, and then being able to hear those beautiful words of absolution. That is probably one of my favorite sacraments. But all of them, to have something that you do, that you touch, that you hear, that really resonates now with the way that we live our lives. We live our lives by interacting with the world around us. We don't just sit and think. We touch things, we do things, we hear things. And so to be able to have my Christian life also be the way that I live the rest of my life, interacting with the world, is so harmonious. Yeah, one thing that I really had a trouble with one idea that I had when I was a Protestant, was that Catholics, they don't really take charge of their own faith. They have been taught some rote prayers that they say, they go to Mass, they go in, they go out, there's no real heart in it. And now, being a Catholic, I can say there's nothing farther from the truth. It's true that in the Catholic Church, as in the Protestant Church, there are people who are just going through the motions. No question about that. But if you are not Catholic and you don't know any Catholics who inspire you, you should try to meet somebody who is really living the Catholic faith, who knows their faith and who knows the depth of the riches that Christ has given us in the Church. Meeting a person like that is truly life-changing. And I know that they're out there because I've met quite a lot of them since becoming Catholic. And so that, to me, is the biggest myth, is that all Catholics don't really take their faith as their own. But there are many Catholics that do. And if you can't find somebody, read one of the saints.